So this is by far one of my favorite performance-based exercises. It's something that I used to work on all the time when I was out on the range with my coach, and it's something to this day that I still continue to work on and prescribe a lot to my students. This game is called Through the Bag. Now the way that we're going to play this game is we're essentially going to pick a grid, very similar to the last two exercises. For me personally, I always go with a 20-yard wide grid, but it's completely up to you. Again, this game is hard. We don't have to make it harder than it necessarily needs to be. If you're a bit more of an intermediate to beginner golfer, potentially you want to widen your grid to 25, potentially even 30 yards. Again, this is all completely up to you. There is no right or wrong way to perform this exercise. So now that we have our grid, we're going to work our way through the golf bag. We're going to start with our highest lofted club. For many of you, that might be a sand wedge, potentially a lob wedge. For me, that is my 58 degree. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my pre-shot routine again, and I'm going to work on hitting my grid. So once you've successfully hit the grid with your shortest club or your highest lofted club, you're going to now work up to the next club. For me personally, that is going to be my 56 degrees. Okay, so again, I'm going to go through my pre-shot routine and I'm going to work on hitting that grid. However, if I miss the grid, I have to start again. Okay, so the idea is to work my way through the entire bag without missing the grid. As soon as I miss the grid, I've got to go back and start with my 58 degree wedge. Okay, so we'll have a go and see how far I get through my bag. Now I slightly pulled that 7-9, so that means that I stop at 7-9 and I would start again back at my 58 degree wedge. Again, hoping to make it through from my 58 all the way through to driver. And then once I've hit my driver, I actually want to go over to the putting green and try and hole a 6-foot putt. The amount of pressure that's going to be on that 6-foot putt is going to be pretty scary, and it's a very similar situation that you may experience when you're out there on the golf course. Now, if you're somebody that shoots on average above 85, you want to be a little bit kinder to yourself. You might want to give yourself one mulligan. Okay, one mulligan throughout the entire bag. So say you miss that 7-9, give yourself one more chance at successfully hitting it through and then continue on. However, if you miss another one, you start again. Now, if you're somebody that shoots over 95, you might potentially want to give yourself 2 mulligans. Now, I know that's not realistic to what happens on the golf course, but again, we do want to be kind to ourselves. This game is quite difficult and it is completely up to you. You may not want to have those extra mulligans, and that's completely fine. But the goal is to go from the shortest club in your bag all the way through to driver and then hole that 6-foot putt. And again, using your diary to write down the date and the club that you made it to. So today I would write down today's date and I would write down that I successfully made it to my 8-iron. Then I would go through my bag again and see if I could beat my 8-iron. Now, over time, if you do this exercise, say once a week, you might over time be like, okay, the best club I've got to is my 5-wood. Then the next time that you complete this exercise, you might finally make it to your 3-wood. And you might feel the nerves starting to set in. The heart starts to race a little bit quicker. Okay, you might start to get a little bit more tense. And this is exactly what happens on the golf course. You desperately want to beat your score from previous times. And so we start to put a little bit of added pressure onto ourselves. This is when we really need to take a deep breath, zone in and focus on exactly what we want to be doing. Again, the idea is to make it from the shortest club all the way through to driver and then to your putter.